What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Rich Before 30 podcast. Where we left off last time was with the intro of my book, Rich Before 30. So today we'll pick up on chapter 1 of Rich Before 30 by Gavin, Chief Meredith. Chapter 1 is about motivation. It's titled Motivation. When we talk about motivation, what comes to mind for you? What motivates you? What is the core source of your energy? Or what pushes you to be the best version of yourself? Well, if you actually don't know, that's what we're going to go over today, and that's what my book is here to help you learn. Who doesn't need motivation? I feel like everybody needs a little motivation, whether it's from themselves or they get motivation from inspiration of seeing somebody else do something or accomplish a goal. Inspiration and motivation are almost one and the same. Something that comes to mind for me is my dad saying, "Oh, if one man could do it, so can you." And so seeing somebody do something great would always inspire me or motivate me to believe that I could do the same. Sometimes money can be a motivator. Oh, I need money, so I'm motivated to put in some work so I can get money. Sometimes a vacation might be a motivator. You're working hard so you can have time off or free time in the future, or you're saving so you can have free time. Even family can be a motivator. You might call off work or be taking more time off work now than you had in the past because you want to spend more time with your family, and that's your motivation. Since I was a little kid and people ask you, what are your life goals? What do you want to be when you grow up? For me, everything really had to do with my family. I just wanted to be so rich that I could buy my family any and everything they imagined. A big house, big car, lots of cars. That motivation stuck with me today. That's still my motivation. Now that I have a baby, of course, she's the main motivation, my wife and child. Providing and seeing my dreams come to light is my motivation. The ideas that I had when I was little and even the ideas that I come up with today, I want to see them come to light. Basically, see my dreams come true. That's my motivation. Seeing my dreams come true is my motivation. Sometimes your motivation and your passion can get misconstrued. See, your passion is what you like to do. It's something that you want to do. Your motivation for wanting to live out your passion could be that you want to be happy. That could be your motivation for wanting to live your passion. Because if you're not doing what you're passionate about, you're most likely unhappy. So what's your motivation? My motivation is to be the best version of myself I can be. I absolutely hope to bring you along with me. I hope that I can help you become the best version of yourself. I hope that by interacting with this conversation, you can help yourself be the best version of you. Last episode, we went over some key points. Do you need a mentor? Do you need a business plan? Why do people with big ideas have trouble accomplishing those ideas and getting those ideas to come to light? We talked about time wasted and why you don't want to waste time. We talked about turning your negative ideas into positive ideas and letting go of the past and thinking, how can you make any negative happenings, or how can you make your past empower your present? How can you have your ideas and anything that's happened to you make you stronger today? We ended our last podcast on action. Action must be taken to accomplish these goals that you have in your mind. So how'd you do with that this week? Did you take action? Did you begin to take steps toward accomplishing your dreams? Did you feel like you were making more progress than normal? Let's continue with our progressive journey toward getting rich. We will now listen to the first 4 pages of Chapter 1, Motivation, of the book Rich Before 30 by Gavin, Chief Meredith. Chapter 1, Motivation. Motivation and desires. What are yours? Motivation. Discovering your true desires in life will help you overcome challenges. What you see as a challenge, you might need to take a step back and look at the situation from a different perspective. There is only one you. Don't deprive the world of your greatness. Since my early 20s, I knew that I would write a book. I never knew what the book would be about. Oh, I had always assumed it would be some sort of autobiography charting my long list of life achievements. I even made a couple attempts at getting started by jotting down ideas that came to mind in my notebook that I kept under my mattress. Years passed with my notebook having barely the first page filled.
I spent years chasing my vision of perfection and success. The whole time I was living it. Now I know it's hard for a lot of people to believe, but even the most successful have doubts and fears. For instance, it took me a while to finally get into a groove writing this book. But the most important thing is all the life experience that led to me finally getting over my excuses and knocking it out. I know, right? The guy who has millions of song plays, been on television, and entertains for a living is nervous about writing a book? Well, the truth is, I was coming up with excuses on all the reasons I couldn't start writing this book yet. I felt that I hadn't quite reached the level of success that I felt necessary to tell my story and help others. Long story short, I had to change myself before I could change the world, or at least change my way of thinking. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure I failed just as many times as I've succeeded. The difference between me and the average person is that I never quit. Once I realized that the sum of my experiences is unique to me, I learned to not be such a harsh critic on myself. There are many people who aren't as well off as I am and aspire to have a life like mine. All my life I was an athlete. Not to say that if you've never been an athlete, you can't get rich, because everyone has their own road to success and individual journey to experience. But this is mine. I attended a small elementary junior high school of about 300 kids. I was the junior high school valedictorian. This doesn't mean that I didn't get into fights in school and out of school, nor does it mean that I didn't experience any life dramas. But one thing that it does tell you is that I wasn't your average stereotypical dumb jock. I've been an entertainer my whole life. My mom and family members tell stories of me being only 5 years old and standing on a soapbox performing music and singing. As a teenager, I had the mindset that I would not need music and that sports would lead me to pay for all of my wildest dreams, including a home recording studio and the home and family of my dreams. Luckily, in high school, I had an elective class that may have potentially led me toward the future that brought me to writing this book. The elective class was digital photography, and I had been running my own personal blog with photos from life events for the past 2 years. What I thought was going to be an easy class ended up being life-changing for the better. I found that I had a strong passion for photography. I studied night and day and didn't only become good, but I impressed my digital photography teacher more than any student had. The assignment would be something simple, as come back with 5 or 10 photos, and my photography teacher would be impressed when I would return to class with over 100 quality photos edited, usable, and ready to go. I went on to play sports in college and incurred injury, which ended my athletic career abruptly. I did not let this get me down. Well, who am I kidding? I left my equipment in the locker room and never looked back. I knew I had a lot more life ahead of me than I did behind me, and that my journey was just getting started. Luckily, I had some friends in the music who at the time had grown local buzz in their home city, Los Angeles. I began filming and photographing the journey of our everyday lives. This included home recording sessions, hanging out and playing video games, and even on stage performance videos and photos, which ultimately led to all of us getting a bunch of free gear from Converse, the shoe brand and company.
All right, and we're back. Chapter 1, motivation. What'd you think? How'd it make you feel? Let's go over some points that I highlighted. So I begin chapter 1, motivation, basically listing what the chapter is going to be about. I start by saying discovering your true desires in life will help you overcome challenges, and then follow up with saying what you see as a challenge, you might need to take a step back and look at the situation from a different perspective. Discovering your true desires in life will help you overcome challenges. Let's take this in deeper. Discovering your true desires in life will help you overcome challenges. Now, let me explain this. Someone who is doing what they want to do, and if you're striving toward being great at what you love to do, what someone else may see as a challenge, you'll just see as a step on the way, or a stepping stone, or literally a step or a stair on the ladder to greatness, toward your dream. For instance, to learn something, it must be studied. To get good in sports, you must practice. It's the same with mental capacity. You must practice changing your habits. You must practice changing the way you think. If you see challenges as obstacles, like, oh no, something's trying to stop me from doing what I have to do, and you think, oh no, the world is against me, and you go into this negative thinking pattern, you got to work on changing that way of thinking and see it as a challenge, something that you can get better at, something that can make you better and stronger and something that could, instead of an obstacle, see it as a challenge that could make you better and make you stronger for steps ahead. Some things that you see as a challenge, you might need to look at it from a different perspective. So what that means is you may see something to be complicated, or you might take a look at your life and think, oh man, I got it bad, I got it hard, and things aren't all that great. Oh, I wish this was better, I wish that was better. But there's somebody who's looking at your life and thinking, damn, I wish that was my life. I wish I had everything that person has. And the person they're talking about is you, while you're sitting here moping around and upset about your challenges or obstacles. Somebody else is wishing they had your life. They wish they could be you. So appreciate the person you are. If you ever start feeling down on yourself, think to yourself, is my life really that bad? Do I need to take a step back and reanalyze my situation? Because it's a great chance that you do. I then follow up by stating that there's only one you, which is absolutely true. I reiterate this time and time again throughout the book, and you'll hear me reiterate it throughout this podcast. There's only one you. So every day you wake up, you're winning at being you. So don't ever think you're losing, because nobody else can be you. There's no other version of yourself that's just out here killing it, only in your mind, and you have control to be that version of yourself that you see out here killing it. The next point I highlighted was that even the most successful people have fears and doubts, which is very true. Big celebrities, you name any one of them. Actors get butterflies before doing a big scene or in theater. And even sports athletes get butterflies and get a little nervous before a big game. Politicians before giving a big speech. But the key to conquering fear is taking action. When you take action, the fear disappears or slowly dissipates. Whenever you do what it is that you were afraid of doing, you're no longer afraid of it. What's there to be afraid of? It's done. That's with life a lot of times. Sometimes you're afraid to take that step. You can be afraid to progress, and that's okay. It's an old version of yourself that you've been, and this old version of yourself doesn't want you to change. The old version of yourself is like, no, I want to stay. I want you to stay how you are. You know, if you're lazy, they want you to stay lazy. And you're trying to make progress in your life, and this old version of yourself, it'll make up every excuse in the book. And it's on you to sit there and accept that excuse. And one of the main ones we tell ourselves is, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. And once you say you'll get to it tomorrow, tomorrow's infinite. So when tomorrow comes, you'll say tomorrow again and again and again until you actually get it done. My advice would be to do whatever it is that you need to do in the moment, whether it be something as simple as washing the dishes, taking out the trash, an assignment that you've made for yourself, something on your checklist, your to-do list. Get it done now, because when you put it off till tomorrow, that tomorrow is infinite. So don't be so hard on yourself about feeling behind schedule or behind in life. It's your life to live. Take your time, but also make sure that you're living it to the fullest. I highlighted that even with this book, it took me a second to get into a groove and write the book. And that's very true. I knew I wanted to write a book. I began writing the book in 2016, which is about 5 years ago. What it shows is that the idea was grand for me, and it took everything that happened in my life, me reading books and basically me getting the motivation I needed to piece together the energy and the insight to actually go forward and finally write my book. Something that'll help you a lot with your fears and doubts is realizing that the sum of your experiences is unique to you and only you. So don't be such a harsh critic on yourself. Don't feel like you're behind in the world, because you're taking steps and you have your own unique journey to live. As for myself, I have been an entertainer my whole life. I mentioned that I was singing on top of soapbox carts when I was a little baby, but as a teenager in high school, I strayed away from music, and this is mostly because the idea that, oh, there's a lot of rappers, and in my head, I didn't realize there's also a lot of people who want to be a professional athlete. But I guess growing up, with MTV and BET being the only outlets to see musical celebrities, there were very few. The movies, there's only a small number of celebrities compared to the large number of professional athletes. So in my mind, it was a greater chance that I could go pro in sports than become a celebrity. What's interesting is in sports, there's just as much competition as there is for becoming a grand musician or in anything in life. There's competition and there's people fighting for the top spot and the highest popularity, the most popularity. But the thing is, in life outside of sports, there's an infinite amount of money. There's not a limited number of spots. And sometimes there may be in the position that you want, the one position you desire, if there's only one of those positions available, that may be it for you. But as well, keep in mind that you can always create the position for yourself and work for yourself. So the idea that how could I possibly succeed in something when there's already so many people in the field is already saturated with so many people. It's really negative thinking. You have to believe in yourself and believe that you could potentially be greater than whoever is already doing it. Today's closing statements. Don't be afraid to be you. The sum of your experiences is unique to you. There's only one you. So don't be so harsh on yourself. If you haven't already, be sure to pick up a copy of Rich Before 30 by Gavin and Meredith, available on Amazon. I'm CHIEFtheOG, and this is Rich Before 30 podcast. See you next time.